Welcome to our podcast, Doing It Right. This podcast reveals authentic stories from successful leaders doing it right. It's about their journey to become a leader, their choices, motivations, and lessons. In essence, how they built successful personal brands. Your host is Valerie Sokolosky, author of 8 leadership books and nationally known as an authority on executive presence and personal branding. Let's get started. Here's Valerie.
Oh my gosh, I tell you what, Lucy Billingsley is an icon in our city, and I can't wait to tell you about her. Lucy was born into a family of the world-renowned real estate developer Trammell and Margaret Crow. And she was raised with 5 brothers. Oh my gosh, the only girl. Her father, Trammell, came from actually very humble beginnings. As I read about him, I could just imagine him, knowing him as he was successful, visualizing some of the things they said about Trammell, even plucking chickens once when he was earning a lot of odd jobs. And I think because of that, Lucy grew up with some really wonderful pearls of wisdom, which she's going to share today. But you know, being born in that family, she just took the, as we say in Texas, the bull by the horn, and she made her own reputation, which we're going to talk about a lot today. She and her husband Henry, in 1978, actually started their own company, Billingsley Company, which we'll talk about today. And I think personally that the company is known for not only their portfolio of real estate developments, but the artistic flair that goes along with it, and the sincere desire to have developments that are about people living and working in places that they just love to look around and be a part of. And I think that's different too. Lucy gave me a pearl of wisdom that I'm going to throw up on the screen right now. She said to me, you know, to be able to think of how we can enrich the lives of others, how lucky we are to have the pleasure of our work. I make decisions grounded in doing what is right, i.e., the story of the book, doing what is right for the long term. Now, before we begin, I have a quick video clip that says it all about Lucy.
So now let's talk about moxie. Mary Poppins had moxie. Betty Davis had moxie. Moxie's being brash and smart and fun and free and independent and willing to go for it. Sounds like Dallas women.
Well, welcome, Lucy.
Well, a thrill to be here. Thank you for inviting me. Way too grand an introduction, but fun to get to sit down and visit.
Well, you're 7 feet tall in that introduction,
yeah, right.
And it's packed into what, 5 feet tall?
Yeah, 5 feet, and holding.
And holding.
Yeah.
Lucy, you have moxie. The thing you said about that was wonderful. Moxie is being brash, smart, fun, free, independent, willing to go for it. Sounds like a Dallas woman. That's you.
Well, I think a lot of Dallas women. That's the nature of this city and the spirit of the people here. And we're just in a really great place to be. Lucky to be here.
Yeah, we really are, aren't we?
Yeah.
Thank goodness it's in the center of the country, and it's not too cold and it's not too warm. It's a great place to be a developer for all those wonderful
great
things.
Economy, great diversity of business, great can-do spirit. Yeah, Texas is pretty darn good.
What do you love most about what you're developing in our fair city and state?
Well, what our approach is, my husband buys large pieces of land, and then when it's time to develop it, I run right in the door and say, me, I can do this. And what we want to do is be so thoughtful about each step we take, because we're going to influence all the other steps to come. Mm-hmm. So first we plan the public areas. And what's the public environment? And it be it an office park or retail or residential or industrial, and all of them. What's the public environment? And then we create the parks, and we try to strategize for what the full vision might be. And that public arena part is quite a thrill because you have to care about spatial relationships, but you want to be bringing nature in, and you want to be bringing art in, and it's the pedestrian, and all the pieces together. Hopefully, if we do it right, people will walk down a trail or a sidewalk or drive down the street and just think, how lovely, and just think, but that's the way it should be. This is Texas. That's what we want to do. We want to create the Texas you wish you were from.
Oh, I love that.
Well, it's fun. It's fun to keep that idea in our minds.
It is, and you've been doing it. You know, the art part, Lucy. So obviously Trammell loved art. What is it about the art that you personally envelop? Or is there any particular kind of art that you like personally in your own homes?
Well, sure. I mean, we're all attracted to different things. We're not collectors. We're not so studied in the arts that we're strategic in that kind of way. So the main engagement I like in the arts, business-wise, first, I'll talk about that, is I want to create a piece of sculpture or have a piece of sculpture or a painting that when you walk by it, you feel better because it's there. It complements you. You know, we don't have liberal arts in our adult lives, and that's what we can bring to each other in creating these places filled with art. So, office lobbies, parks, in the multifamily, in the residential areas, in the gardens. So we really get to infuse a lot of art around. I personally really have enjoyed buying some contemporary Asian art.
Cool.
And it's because Dad and Mom really loved Asian art and had traditional, and you could just see that brushstroke, that traditional one that was so precise and yet flowing. It's turned into some wild, beautiful contemporary pieces. Just the brushstroke from 1930 to 2020.
Obviously, the Crow Museum, and that we are so proud of in Dallas. And one art piece that I walked by, Lucy, I was told that it was done with a fingernail. And I mean,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, the precision that's needed in this, and who has that idea? You know, it's
Fingernail.
Yeah.
I thought that was really, it was incredible.
Yeah.
It was incredible. So let's go back to that for a moment. There's so many developments, and I'd love you to mention several, but start with Cypress Waters, and we've got a picture of it.
Oh, good.
And
There you go.
I mean, this is a big, big deal. What is, and what started with the vision for this incredible sprawl?
Well, it's a 1,000-acre development just, above DFW Airport at Beltline and LBJ. And when we bought it, it also has a 300-acre lake. Well, where in Dallas can you have a lake? Obviously, it's few and far between. And we don't have lakes that you can have the hike and bike trail, or you can live on it, or you can work on it, or you have the restaurants. And we're able to bring all that together. And we added a sound stage and park. So now we're bringing in what are the events and how do we, have the place come alive, because we want the people who live at Cypress Waters, but who live in Coppell and Irving and Grapevine, all the areas near, to come consider it their place. We've got 2 miles of the trail on the lake built out on North Lake, and that'll be a 7-mile loop around the entire lake and connect to Campion trails. Well, that's to
huge.
me, that's something that'll live on way beyond any of us.
Yes.
So and when we bought the property, the lake was bigger than this. We drained part of it. So now we've been planting all these trees. We instantly planted 500 trees because we just wanted something to start growing. So by the time the trails came around, there'd be some nature there. So we're really getting to create a natural landscape. We're trying to plant things that are going to get the ducks coming in, and we want to have wildlife come and own it and have it be theirs as well.
It's incredible.
Fun. A lot of
How
fun.
much is left to develop?
Oh, 70%.
Really?
We've really just started. we've probably got, I'm not good at tracking things, but let me say 12, 15 office buildings, and we can probably go 4 times that.
Wow.
And then we've got a couple of thousand multifamily units, residences, great views looking out on the water, and we're be able to go many times that.
And 7-Eleven headquarters
Yeah,
there?
7-Eleven's there, Nokia, CoreLogic, Brinker. We are so lucky with this great group of tenants that we have. So we're really privileged to be creating a new, fun, casual yet sophisticated. All the office buildings near the water have balconies on them.
And
we've done it because we want people to be officing inside but walking out on the balcony and engaging or listening to the band that we've got going on. We want this to be not where you bring in hard buildings that are edifices, but where you bring in life that's engaged. So this is this text you wish you were from.
Oh my goodness, Lucy. Well, it is incredible, and we've been watching it as we will so many others. You had to have had challenges.
Oh, sure.
Is there a major or a interesting story behind in the process of getting this up and going that you share with us and how you handled it?
I'd say I've had challenges my whole life, so just pick where you want it to be. But you're asking about Cypress Waters in particular.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. And in the very beginning, we are in the city of Dallas, and all the utilities to service this are not close by. So let me say it another way. We're in the city of Dallas, surrounded by Coppell and Irving. And so it was a major logistical feat to bring how to get all the utilities and services there, how to work with the neighboring cities. And it was real hard for a long time. This had been an area that had been a park area, and people did not want to see it developed, so there's a great deal of resistance. And we have tried to, and I think very successfully, both the communities next to us have been kind and good in working with us. They know we're here, and we've tried to be respectful by giving and creating these public spaces and communities that are theirs. So, nobody cares about a border. We just care about living together rightly.
That's doing it right.
Yeah,
okay, so have you always had moxie? Have you always had self-confidence, Lucy?
I don't know that I deserve self-confidence, but I somehow I've always been pretty comfortable with myself. There are a lot of things that I could and should and ought to be better at, and you can give me the list, I can give the list, we all have those lists. But I sleep well. And, I know there are a few things. One thing to be able to sleep well is I never want to violate my own integrity.
There you go.
And so if I can hold that, I can not be smart enough, I can not be a lot of things. But if I never violate my own integrity, I sort of like myself okay.
That's amazing. I asked that question specifically because in the coaching part of what I do, Lucy, oftentimes, and it seems to be particularly women, but not always, it will come out after we have the trust relationship that people are going through some things that have hampered their self-confidence, even at the CEO top level. And then in research, I found that women in a survey were asked, top-level women were asked this question: do you ever doubt yourself? Do you ever lack self-confidence? And this is what was so interesting. Every single one said, oh, my goodness, there are times when I think, oh, I hope they don't know I don't know. Or, oh my gosh, I've got to figure that out. I don't know. What does that mean about me? That those little times, right? So that's why I brought it up. I just wondered if you had ever had any of those little times.
No, there's so many decisions that I may not be the right one with all the information.
Exactly.
So I certainly lack confidence in how to make the decision right, but I'm not just second guessing myself because of it.
Good.
I know I just don't have all the knowledge or all the facts, and I know I need to bring others in, and I'm glad to do it. I'm glad to be told I'm wrong. I may try a little bit harder. push back a little bit. But all of those things are.
That's a team.
Yeah. And, that's like people say, I want to marry Mr. Right, just not Mr. Always Right. And, we want to be right as much as we can, but.
Tell us about Henry and in the working relationship. How does that work together?
Okay, so Henry and I are partners.
Yeah.
We built the company together, and we have the exact same goals. We have very different approaches, and Henry's belief is if he does 3 things that are really significant right each year, then that's a home run. And for me, on the other hand, I've got a list of 20 things I need to get done today. And so I have to pull myself back and try to be more focused. And then I like a lot of deals. It's pretty easy to sell me. I get excited and I want to run go do it. And he really likes the deal he's working on, his deal.
Deal.
So he's much more stringent on his standards. And we both know that there's no deal that's more important than the relationship. And so, when we're coming in and diving into it, we've now done this together long enough that we probably know what the other one thinks.
Probably.
We can clearly finish each other's sentences. And now we have 3 of the kids in the business.
That's good.
Well, and so, they also know our personalities. They can totally confess our sins. And, they bring a lot to the table.
And 8 grandchildren.
Yeah, that's right.
That's a blessing.
Yeah.
Added blessing. We've talked about
that's
that.
Exactly right.
Lucy, I don't know if you know this, but I have followed you since I was years old when you were running the Dallas Market Center.
How funny.
That's the big fashion center in Dallas. And back in those days, right, we didn't have online. And so all the buyers around the country, both furniture and clothing, started with clothing,
Yes.
would come to Dallas. And I actually, when I was a teenager, modeled for one of the little showrooms.
What's fun?
Yes, and met Kim Dawson and became friends with her. But I knew of you, didn't know you, but I knew of you all those years. What part in what you're doing now, what was anything that specific that was a lesson learned? You were only, 27, in your 20s when you ran that?
Right. I was in, 27, 28, 29, and then into my 30s. Running the market center. And I mean, that was a thrilling experience. This is a business Dad had launched. So, but I started out in accounting and then worked my way through all the different departments. Loved the business, fascinating bringing wholesalers and retailers together. We got to grow the business a lot, clearly made some mistakes. And it was an interesting business because when you're talking about looking at trends and where's the economy going, we all want to know, where do you read tea leaves? And wholesale to retail is a great place to read the tea leaves and then the consumer buying patterns. And I was there in the 80s when technology was just starting to come in. And then you could also see the globalization, technology, buying patterns would be changing around the world, and clearly they have.
Any mistakes you'd be willing to own up to?
Oh, sure. I made a huge mistake. The furniture industry was very big in Dallas, and the Furniture Retail Association came to me, and they wanted to bring a show of manufacturers from Asia, furniture manufacturers from Asia, in a temporary show to the Dallas Market Center. And the furniture manufacturers in America, primarily in the Southeast, were our big tenants. And they came to me and said, in no way. Oh. And I didn't listen to them. I listened to the retailers and let the show come, because my thinking was the retailers are their customers and their customers is always right. Well, I was just very wrong. That broke the relationship with the furniture manufacturers from the Southeast. The wholesalers that came over from Asia didn't sell a lot, and it was. So I'll go to another cliche: dance with the one who brung you, and that's what I didn't do. So big mistake on my behalf.
Big lessons, though, and that's where we don't muscle up when we're when we're just smooth and sailing. It's when we pull up those sails, right?
Yeah, when things get tough.
Let's talk about you personally. How many books do you want to write?
Oh, none. No.
Really?
Yeah. No.
Not one book you have
No.
in yourself.
No. I mean, I'm happy to talk a lot, but I'm certainly not a writer.
Have people proposed it to you? Like, why don't you write a book?
No. Somebody casual like you just is a throwaway line. Nobody ever wants to read anything I write, and nobody comes to ask me for opinions. So I'm just fine like I am. Thank you.
Okay, well, you've got a lot on your plate.
Yeah, well.
One of the things, Lucy, that's on your plate right now, and I don't want to dismiss this, and I do want to talk about the virus that is hitting our country. And that's something I'm sure, like me, who would have ever thought in our lifetime something like this would happen. With the amount of people and the immensity of your business, what are some of those values and leadership attributes that you're pulling up to handle this right now? What are you doing, Lucy?
Well, first off, I think that it's taken me personally a minute to absorb, even in starting to watch China in January, to absorb that, we are really full in.
Yeah.
And that it's obviously personal for all of us and our friends and associates in health and our responsibilities in our business. And I think the economy in real estate in Dallas, we've been like we're on a racetrack for the past 10 years when we just hit the wall. Mm-hmm. And so to know that, then we've been spending the past week first saying, what are we doing for our employees? Mm-hmm. What are we doing for our residents? What are we doing for our office buildings, for our office tenants? What can we learn, but what are the expectations of this as well as the realities? And so we are setting in policies and making announcements today that are very similar to others on how to work from home or who can work from home and taking care of the children and so many things to say, how do we do rightly? Mm-hmm. How do we expand our own policies inside the company for time off and all of that to accommodate this situation? On the business side, with the buildings, we are in touch with all of our tenants and leaders across the board, and not just our normal working contacts, but getting to the heads of the companies that are here to make sure that they know we want to hear any and everything that they are concerned about. And then people are working from home. So now in our apartments, they're there during the days.
That's right.
And so how do we make them feel safe? How do we help them get outdoors? How do we create activities? And food deliveries, how do we make their lives be healthy and productive? Mm-hmm. And the last thing that has jumped into our thinking about this really came from an email that Chad West sent out to city council members. And he was saying, now let's look at the community. And how do we help the food be delivered to people? What about the kids who aren't getting the food in school? So can we rise to the occasion of uniting the community together? In a discussion last night, I was told about how the North Texas Food Bank, Meals on Wheels, B&A, they all need a lot of deliveries. And people in restaurants, hourly people in restaurants, are going to have their hours cut back, and they're going to need pay. So some volunteers are coming together to say, can we contribute money to these food deliveries, North Texas at Food Bank and B&A or for the nursing, and then the Meals on Wheels. How can we contribute money so you, the nonprofit, can pay the restaurateur to be a volunteer? So let's get the food delivered, and let's take care of this employee. Let's keep each other employed, and let's wrap our arms around the community. And I think that kids in our apartments, we were talking about how do we give them arts and crafts projects to take to a retirement community. Aww. What is the idea? I don't know the idea, but the idea is whatever somebody wants to do to help the community. That's what the idea is. And I think that's an exciting way for us to come through this and feel stronger and better about each other.
I love your positivity.
Well, this is going to be tough.
Well, it's tough, but you know what? It's exactly what you said, Lucy. When the rubber hits the road, people will get together and just think about, as you were talking about all those ideas, I couldn't help but go to think about the creativity that's going to come out from people and have an opportunity for them to say, oh, you liked that idea. Oh, well, what about having the kid? You know, I mean, so it's a tenuous time. I just can't thank you enough for even being here. Even before you got here, the studio made sure that the table was wiped down, and so it will not be the same again, probably. We'll be watching a different trend. But I do want to ask you about trends of lifestyle, because you study that. So what's the new way of the generations now coming up? What are they looking for in life and in living?
Well, now there I should have better answers and more knowledge than I do. I think my answers are fairly obvious. Obviously this online everything. And now I'll infuse into it this circumstance of the coronavirus. This isn't just a few months here. This could be 18 months. We don't know the ebb and flows. So how does it change life patterns? Mm-hmm. And I think this online world that we have and this social distancing is something we really need to monitor and do things to ensure that our children stay healthily engaged with each other. I know if I had to homeschool my children, they would either be ignorant or hanging from the ceiling, or I'd be hanging from the chandeliers, the rafters. So I think we really got to work on how do we get these teams and the integration and keep children's lives very well connected with each other, because those peer groups need to not be online. They need to be together as friends.
That's true. Very true. So what do you do when you're stressed? How do you refresh yourself?
Oh, I do yoga, and I jogged forever. Sadly, I'm now on a treadmill. I like the outdoors, but that's what I do. Yeah.
Okay. We all need something.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
We all need something. A couple other things I wanted to talk about before we go. You said in another pearl of wisdom that when you're negotiating, it's important to understand what another party or person wants or needs when it comes to negotiation, business, and life for that matter. Isn't life just all about negotiations?
Well, which maybe means life's all about understanding each other.
Isn't it?
And learning from each other. Being inspired by each other. Oh. It's a fun ride.
Well, tell us about the ride in your company. How would you describe your culture?
Well, I'm a biased source, so
that's okay.
I'm probably not the best person to ask. I want to hire great people, and I want to be wrapped around a common goal and head down that track together. I'm not interested in managing anyone because I don't want to be managed. I mean, I don't even like the idea of managing a person. I hope that we've got that kind of environment living well in our company. But I see the skill sets of the people that are on our team, and I've seen them grow and grow and grow, and they're getting so strong. I'm now saying I've got to go figure out how to redefine myself, because they can all do these things. So what added value am I bringing to this? And I'm motivated because I'm not leaving, so I've got to figure this one out.
Well, that goes to one of the things that I do a lot of, which is personal branding. Yeah. So I'll just ask you this. Yeah. If there's one word that you think is your brand, what would you say, Lucy?
Mm-hmm. Well, the words come into my mind that, my siblings or my husband or my kids would say.
Yeah, and that's good.
Yeah, I'm energetic.
Okay, energetic.
Yeah. Well,
I would say so.
that's and optimistic,
And let's go back quickly to the values you talked about that are everything about what you're doing and how you've lived your life. What was maybe a lesson learned or something your father and your mother, one from each, that just really stuck with you as a kid?
Well, that's easy.
Okay.
With Dad, there are lots of pearls of wisdom, but the one I reflect on most frequently is he said, "It's all up to you." And what's that mean? It's all up to you. Is that an obligation? Is that a burden? And the answer is no. Your life is yours. You've the freedom to take it and run with it. So whatever comes your way, the good, the bad, it's up to you. So I love that as a real point of freedom. So from my mom, very different kinds of advice. Mostly it's how to be a lady and things that you can see I didn't learn as well as I should have. But one of her statements to me that I laugh at is she said, "You feel good when you look good." And I thought, no, I feel good when I'm in my jogging shorts, but that's not when I look good. And so her whole sensibility was, how do I compliment other people?
Oh.
And it's looking good, it's being kind, it's being engaged. So that was, a wonderful gift.
Those are great pearls of wisdom. So what's one major message that you have tried to instill in your children and grandchildren?
Oh. Well, I probably said them both here. Obviously I've said, Dads, it's all up to you. The other, there's not one, sorry. I'm going to fail on giving this answer.
Give us more than one.
Obviously, never violate yourself. Never violate your integrity. But then go for it. This is one wild and precious life. And, when people say do things outside the box, throw the damn box away. Who needs the box?
That's great.
Just let it roll. And set your own rules. Don't look at the standards of others, but set your own standards. And then try to live by those.
It's all about authenticity, isn't it?
Yeah, but authenticity that gets where you try to be better all the time.
All the time.
I just you just don't need the authentic me. You've got to see the new and improved me. I need to get that. I need to find the new and improved.
Well, we're always evolving, right?
Yeah,
we're always learning. The day that we quit learning, just put us under the ground.
Right.
What a wonderful opportunity. And I do want to show a picture that I think you will appreciate. Your dog. Oh. You're a dog lover, a French bulldog. I did not know what a French bulldog was. Tell us about Shadow.
Yeah. Well, my daughter got a French bulldog, and actually we gave it to her for her birthday. And then a couple of years later, I'd never had an in-house dog. And I thought, well, we even like this dog. We didn't know we were going to. So then she gave us Shadow, and, it's the same story. All my dogs had always lived outside. Oh, Shadow can come in. Not on the sofa, okay, on the sofa. Not on the bed, okay, on the bed. Not under the covers, okay, under the covers. And Shadow goes to work with us every day. So
Shadow's taken over.
Oh, absolutely.
And we can learn a lot by dogs.
Yeah. Well, obviously, they talk about training dogs. I was well trained. It took me a minute to catch on, but now I'm trained. And so Shadow's pretty happy.
That's great. Lucy, what fun. It's just been a joy. I appreciate you so much coming on the show today and wish you
pleasure.
Truly God's blessings with all that you've got on your plate. And so, as always, I say to my guests, just know that I appreciate your comments. I appreciate your subscribing, of course, to the podcast and sharing it, especially. I mean, this one is just one. Please, just share it all over the world, please, because it's pretty special, I think. And also, send me Valerie at valerieandcompany.com. Send me what has been impactful today. from something that Lucy has said? What has kind of hit you? And if you do that, I will send you, I wrote for 10 years for Southwest Airlines magazine, so I've got a lot of articles, and I'll send you one of them that relates to our show today. All you have to do, be the first of 10 that send it in, your comments, Valerie at valerieandcompany.com. And until next time, just keep evolving your brand, as Lucy said, being the best of who you are. That's what life is about. Go for it. Talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening. To receive Valerie's voice, free monthly leadership tips, and to learn more about her leadership programs and coaching, visit her website, valerieandcompany.com. Next week, we'll be here again to inspire, engage, and equip you with teachable points of view from successful leaders who have been doing it right. Until then, lead authentically.
So here's my Valerieism for the day. It's this: if you live to make a difference, you'll be more fulfilled as you live to build your living. And I want to tell you about a story on that, because at the end of the day, what would you say is more important, money or people? Now, if you're saying money, you can just tune me out. If you say people, stay tuned, because that's what life is about. I've experienced someone in the last few years that is perfect person to share with this Valerieism. His name is Don. And Don was a very humble giant of a CEO. Can you get that visual in your mind? A humble giant CEO. He had a leadership mindset that every day when he came to work, his first thought was, what am I going to do today to make a difference in people's lives? He meant. And so every day when he came to work, he looked for those opportunities. And you know, when you have your eyes and your ears open, you see and you hear things that maybe you wouldn't otherwise. And so the day came when he had to make a very difficult decision. And he stopped and he paused and he said to himself, what decision can I make that will make a difference in the people aspect? He always went to that default. And the end of the story is he did make the right decision, and it served him well. And when he passed, there were so many people that came to the funeral and came up to his children and told them stories that they never knew about the things that Don did for other people that no one ever knew. In other words, what do you do that you don't tell other people about? What are those things you reach out and make a difference in, and you don't have to spout it out to the world. It's just coming from your heart. And things like, well, Don, did you know Don put me through college? That was one of them, I remember. Did you know Don sent me on a trip that I had needed to go on and I couldn't, and he heard and he just said, here's the airplane ticket. And he did things that made a difference, and thus his living was more than successful. That's my Valerieism for today.